Happy Phase 4.
Opening statement, and we'll open up for questions.
On a somber note, I want to, our thoughts and prayers are with the Hopewell High School football program. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, I'm sure most of you, about the tragedy there yesterday with one of their young football players. Can't imagine for that team, their coaches, their players, the high school, the community. So thoughts and prayers there with Coach Ricky Irby and his team, his football family. I'd like to congratulate our 11 Hokies that participated in the Olympics or are participating. Outstanding, pretty cool, very proud. A couple other notes. I'd like to point out that we've made some adjustments to the titles with our football staff, our current football staff, with the new rules. NCAA, the ability for these guys to coach that were former analysts. We've made some adjustments with our graduate assistants, the 6 analysts in the program, as well as Gunnar Brewer. It's an opportunity for us to enhance the men that can coach on the field and help develop our players. And we've got a good group that are very deserving and very impactful of our program. So we spent some time researching what other people had done. There's maybe 10, 12 schools that have gone ahead and made an adjustment with this new rule. And I think the way where we settled is best for our staff and our team, our program. So I'm excited about that. Obviously excited about Phase 4 and being in camp. We've already had so many elements of what camp is. The adversity, the development, the excitement, the big plays, the misplays, the improvements that are recognized, guys' roles growing, guys that maybe weren't factoring in all of a sudden have a chance to. Fine-tuning. We tell the guys all the time it's about mastering your craft, truly understanding your position. That's a big piece of preseason camp to me, as well as learning our systems and being very comfortable in our offense, in our defense, in our kicking game. All of that, we've got 5 practices down. We finish mini camp number 2 today. We've got arguably our toughest practice on the docket for this afternoon. Also want to mention Fan Day. Here in Beamer Lawson Indoor Facility on Sunday. Always a great turnout. It's open to the public. I encourage everybody to come out, meet our players, all of them except our freshmen. We keep them at bay for a little bit, keep coaching them up our freshmen will be out there. But anyways, Fan Day on the 11th. It's another chance to interact with our players, our coaches, all these guys that have taken on new titles will be out there as well. I know that we've got a couple of sellouts already in the book, which is fantastic. Credit to our fan base, and I know we're very close on a couple others. So, it's a two-way street. Fan Day's awesome. Our players get excited about it. It's a way for our fans to get to know our football team much better. I'll take some questions at this time.
Yeah, Brent, when you look at your wide receiver room compared to when you first got here, it kind of feels like night and day just in terms of numbers, talent in that room. Has that been rebuilt quicker than you thought it might have? What has that process been like?
I'll say this. I think we've done very well, but it also wasn't in a very good place. So there was nowhere to go but up. I think Coach Mines and the offensive staff, we put an emphasis there. We needed to improve dramatically. And we're able to make great strides, maybe a little bit better than I thought. But, we've been able to do it through high school recruiting, through the transfer portal, and through development, all three phases. I don't know that normally you get all that. We've kind of hit where we needed to hit in that room. And we've been able to retain coaches. We've added Cam Phillips. We've added Gunnar Brewer. They're just kind of the stars are aligning in there for the makeup of a pretty good group.
when you're targeting receivers through recruiting, is there a skill that you prioritize more than others that, we have to have this out of this guy?
There are certain things that are non-negotiable that we look for, from character, from work ethic, just some God-given abilities. But it's also need-based. What do we need in the room? What complements what's already there? I know for me, for a lot of years as a linebacker coach, there wasn't just a set. We might need to get a little bit bigger in this class. We might need to get a little faster. We might need to get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more physical, a little bit smarter. To me, it's the chemistry of your room that you look at and you evaluate. And then, it's also based on, what's out there and what makes sense from a footprint. With Jay Lane, who's here in the room, the ability to know so much about him through his father and his coaching experiences, through Rick Stockstill and the assistants on that staff, and Rick, and it just made too much sense, and he fit a need. So a lot goes into it.
With Damian and David and Mike.
Brent, you bring up being a linebackers coach. That room in particular, how much competition have you seen through these first 5 practices, and how much longer do you think there's going to be before finding a rotation?
Yeah, I don't know. We've got some guys that have separated themselves. J.K., Sam, Kelly, McDonald. I think Caleb Woodson's in that mix now. You've got 5 guys that are battling really to be in the 2 deep. It's a good group, and there's not much drop off. Caleb's still got a little bit of a learning curve. He doesn't have the number of reps in there that the other guys do. Kelly's playing some inside and some outside at the star. Like I've said before, we're gonna move those guys around a little bit and create depth. But I'm excited about the group. Coach Marv, Coach Adibi, they've done a great job, and I think we'll be in a better place at the linebacker position.
What's the basis? How do you formulate a recruiting plan for linebackers? Because you can go out and find guys who are long, rangy, guys who can, a bruiser like maybe Sam who can fit the run really well. What's the ideal linebacker that you want to look for in this scheme?
Yeah, I don't know that. Again, I think it's the same question Andy asked about the wide receiver room. I don't know that there's an ideal. Unless you're going to give me 3 Micah Parsons, I'll take them. But, I think, again, it's who complements the room and what's the need. I think until you get a guy in your program, particularly a high school player, and really have a chance to see him work day to day, can you truly identify what his strongest traits are, what his true liabilities are, and what's his best position? So I think we're in a good place in that room.
Brent, when you first became a coordinator, how long in hindsight do you think it took you to get your sea legs calling the defense during a game? And now that Chris is entering his 2nd full season doing the same, how much progress do you expect from him in that regard?
Yeah, I think, Chris has grown tremendously. Very proud of what he's done as our defensive coordinator. I think that head start 2 years ago against Liberty, to sink his teeth into it. And as I mentioned, I think it was important. Chris prepared like he was going to call the game every week in year 1, which was great preparation. That's part of it, the planning, the process, the day-to-day, the scripts. What do you need to work on? What formations are important? What calls make the list? What calls get thrown out? Those type of decisions. He's making those on his own right now. And, he's in a good place. I think he's squared away. He's ready to go. We had a top 20 defense the way we finished. I want to see us start out strong and have a complete year. Let's see where that gets us.
Brent, we talked a lot in Charlotte about the expectations, the hype, the pats on the back. Now that you've been out a little bit, how are the guys responding, handling that position?
Yeah, I don't think they're paying much mind to it, to be quite honest. We dealt with it in a couple of team meetings that it's not important. It's great to have confidence. We deserve that. We earned that. But to remain humble, to remain hungry, Those things are essential. And we've got a group that's doing both those things right now.
Do you have some older guys who lead the way on that? I mean, you've got a lot of guys back. Are there a couple guys that maybe step to the forefront?
Yeah, there's several on each side of the ball. We're fortunate that way. I think, with all the retention, it was a tough decision who to take to media day. The captain situation is going to be very interesting. There's so many guys that are deserving, that have the respect of their teammates and their coaches. Just looking through our Hokie Huddle leadership group, I mean, there's just so many great candidates, to take on a position there for us. So I think, it's hard to just mention a couple of guys. We've got a good group. And you look across the board, even with Peter Moore and his experience and his leadership. He's a two-time captain. So I think we're in a pretty good shape that way. We'll see as to me, camp, that's one of the things that occurs is your captains emerge. Some guys really step to the forefront. There's always adversity in every camp I've been part of, and the guys that step up and own it and lead during the tough times, those guys get my vote.
Back in the room, Lane, and we'll come to Joe.
Coach, everybody's made a lot of the guys that are coming back and how many are coming back. And I know for every kid that makes a decision, there's a different reason why he might make that decision. But as you talk to them after they made their decision, were there one or two common themes among most of them or all of them as to why they decided to at least give this program one more year?
That's a good question. And yeah, every situation was different. For the young man, for the family, the opportunities. But I do think two common threads. These guys wanted to come back and play together. They believed in one another. They enjoyed one another. They wanted to be together. And second, they believed in the process. They believed in our team, our culture, that we could be a really good football team and do some exciting things. I think that was the two driving forces.
Let's go to Joey.
Hi, Coach. It's
up,
good
brother?
to see you again. We talked a lot about the progress that you have made from year 1 to year 3. I'm just curious if you could go back to your year 1 self and give yourself some advice. What would you tell your year 1 self? What would you tell yourself in year 1?
Yeah, things I learned. I don't like to look back, but things that I certainly learned. Don't make hasty decisions, especially as a first-time head coach. Trust your instinct. We spent a lot of years kind of doing that and got away from it at times. And, you got to trust the folks around you, which we've got a fantastic staff here. Very trusted group, very knowledgeable group. And you can't do it all as the head coach. There's a lot of things that come across my desk. Certain items that require the head coach, and there's other things that you've got a great quality staff, experienced staff that can take a bunch on. So, good stuff.
Coach, you got Allie Jennings back after only playing one game. Does it feel like it's almost like he's a new transfer addition again, given how little you got to have him on the field last year? And what have you seen from him making this recovery and now integrating back in?
First of all, he's got such a big personality that it's not like he just joined us. He's been fully invested. He's been with us a while. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think we're all excited to see a complete year out of Ali, what he's really capable of. He's one of those guys that, you come out to practice and you go, okay, good guy, good player, solid guy. And you go out and watch him on Saturdays, and that's kind of been his career. He outperforms, how he plays on game day over practice, which is, to me, kind of rare. But, I'm excited for him more than anything. I know he can impact our program, our wide receiver room. He's an older guy. He's a 6-year guy that has a lot of experience and has a unique skill set. So I'm excited about him. He's certainly going to help us.
Let's go David Teal, then David Cunningham, and Mike.
Brent, how many players do you have in camp, and have you started to game plan for the probable 105 limit of next year and how you'll dole out scholarships? Would you consider partials? Do you want to fully fund? all those things.
Yeah, so we have 120 in camp, and I supported the 105, as did most coaches in our league, not all of them. But, you know, we have the support and the commitment to be at 105, which initially seems like the right thing. I struggle with losing a walk-on program at Virginia Tech. I know what it's meant to this program, to so many. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to give up a competitive advantage. If you have an opportunity to scholarship 105 players, you know, seems like the right thing to do. But we're still working through it. We've got fantastic commitment from Witt, from Dr. Sands. You know, everybody's pouring into this thing to align Virginia Tech where we need to be. And you know, so we've got some decisions to make down the road. You know, things are going to look different. You know, you're taking, if the number is 105, and you've got 20 more scholarships that you disperse. Where do you put them? You put another one at safety, 2 at D-line, 1 at receiver. What do you do in the specialist room? Where normally you have 3 or 4 on scholarship, but you have 8 or 9 in the room, and you rely heavily on walk-ons. What do you do with the walk-ons in the program? You know, how many of them make the cut, and how many of them move on? So there are challenges presented going from 120 to 105. And, you know, we can't just put them over here on the side till postseason. We are having some of those conversations now. I think it will. I think you'll see more transfers. You know, our philosophy is not going to change. We're going to go to the transfer portal where we need to for the right guys. But, you know, I think for some folks, for a lot of programs, they're looking at it as an opportunity to, you know, to reach out to the transfer portal and sign a bunch of guys. It's going to be interesting.
Go David, then Mike and Andy.
Brent, at the top, you mentioned the staff title changes. Does that do anything on the practice field and whatnot? Like, how does that change any way you guys operate? And what is that like to kind of, you know, have the opportunity to kind of reward a lot of those people who have been with you guys from day one?
Yeah, those guys have been limited what they can do. It's been challenging. Talented coaches that want to help these guys and can help these guys. And so to take the handcuffs off, and there's a couple of them I had to walk around the first couple of days of practice and say, hey, man, you can use your voice now. Like, you don't have to talk under your breath. Like, you can, you know, coach your butt off. Let's go. And got a good group, good team of guys, and you know, I'm excited. It's great for them. I didn't want to just give titles out just to give titles. It didn't make sense. We've kind of tiered this thing out where guys have an opportunity for growth and promotion and within our program. They don't have to take a job just to take a job. They can stay here at Virginia Tech and continue to develop and help us.
I know a lot of people talk about the returners on offense and defense, but that third side of the ball, to have just about everybody in that specialist room back, what is that like going into, you know, fall camp where, you know, everything's kind of settled for the most part?
Yeah, I don't think that's been talked about enough. You know, the combination of John Love, Kyle Lowe, and Peter Moore. You've got a snapper in Christian Epling that snapped, you know, all of our field goal PATs and did it all in the Military Bowl in a rainy, tough game. To have him back, so I feel good about where we're at. I don't think we've taken that for granted, not as coaches.
Brent, a year ago, a lot of ACC coaches expressed their concern, some frustration over tampering, you know, guys who were not in the portal being coaxed into the portal. When I asked a lot of them in Charlotte this year, they seemed almost like they're over it, like resigned to this is the way it is, you got to figure out how to navigate it. How prevalent is that, and do you have solutions? What are kind of your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's anything you can worry about too much. You have to trust the culture and the foundation you have, the relationships you have. I know our guys, you know, that people were reaching out to some of them. I know that. You know, it's more about their opportunity with us, their relationship with us. than it is about, who's sniffing around. Some staffs are going to do that. We don't. I don't allow it. It's not right. It's already hard enough on these guys trying to make decisions. And, for us, it's about the guys on our team and protecting that and cultivating that.
As a guy who has the long background with your family and coaching, your career in coaching, does it bother you that coaches don't, police themselves, or that you guys as a fraternity can't just bury that issue by saying we're not going to do it the way you say that here?
That's been college football for as long as I know it. It's never a level playing field. You do it the way you believe it's right, and you trust it, it's going to work that way. And I got plenty of examples where it does. So.
Your top two backs, you had about a 2-to-1 carry ratio between those two with Bayshall and Malachi. Is that about where you want that in terms of workload that those guys take, especially when you consider Kyron, the runs that he gets, either designed or not?
I think that's a fair number, but I'm never going to, pigeonhole us to, I'll never do that to Tebow or to Coach Brooks. I think, each game's going to be a little bit different. That's part of being a good coach. You go into a game with a game plan and an idea. We talk about reps and rotations every Saturday morning, but it doesn't always end up that way. Things happen. You make decisions in game that are in the best interest of winning the game. And, obviously we've got, a very talented back in Bayshall. I think he can carry and do more snaps. I think he can handle more snaps than that. But I like the compliment that Malachi brings. And so I think we're fortunate that way. But, to me, it's, you may have a blueprint that you're looking to. We normally do, but, there's just too much that happens in a game that can affect the rotation and how you want to play guys. I really thought he was slow. I thought he was more like a 4.6, 4.7 guy. You didn't think that was funny? You know what? I tell you this. He's a very well-rounded back. I don't know that I knew he could do everything as well as he does it. He can pass pro. He's got nice hands. He can run away from people. He can run through tackles. He can make you miss. To me, he's a complete back. He learns it well. He's smart. He goes about his business like a pro. I would say I probably thought he'd be a little bit more raw as a running back coming in than what we got. And he got better as the year went, to be quite honest.
Obviously, Sam Brumfield was a big transfer addition for you guys this offseason. What have you seen in him kind of integrating into that Mike linebacker role, given all that it entails, both what he does personally and then organizing the defense, getting all the run fits right?
Yeah, he's got tremendous hustle. I love his demeanor and his hustle. He's got great body position. He flies around. One of our better workers. He's loud. He's proud. He communicates very well. He's still learning the system. There's a lot happening right now for him. So he's fully invested. I'm super excited about him. He's a great young man. You feel like when you're around Sam that he's been with us for 2 and 3 years.
Let's go Steve, and then we'll take a couple on Zoom. We'll come back in here if we have time.
With the momentum that you had at the end of last season and having so many guys back, did the offseason seem longer? Is it like it's going to take forever to get to the Vanderbilt game for you guys right now, or did you?
No, I don't
just
think
make
so.
the work better?
Yeah, I mean we were in the winter phase, and that's all we kind of thought about and were worried about, and you just kind of go through the cycles. I don't think I don't think anybody was looking too far ahead, or I think you just pour so much into each phase that it's hard to think about much else, to be honest. I don't feel like the timing was any different. We're creatures of habit as coaches especially, but players as well. And everybody's just kind of going about their business and making sure we do what we need to do, whether it's practice 6, whether it's phase 2, whether it's Skelly, whether it's, that's the process, and that's what keeps you kind of focused and mainstreamed and worrying about the right things. You trust the process, and we got a group of coaches and players that do that.
Let's go out to Zoom for a couple.
On Zoom, please introduce yourself with your name and outlet, please, and we'll start with Sam.
Coach Price, Sam Jesse, Sons of Saturday. You mentioned in your first fall camp at Virginia Tech that there were some good players, but you needed more of them. And then last fall camp, you said a bit of the same thing. The roster had gotten better, but you still needed more. In year 3, with positive recruiting in the transfer portal, do you feel like this roster is a little bit closer to what you need to compete at the highest level and closer to what you saw as a coach at Penn State?
Yeah, certainly we're in a better place. Talent, experience. There's just more guys on our team that we know more about. We know what to expect at practice. We know what to expect in ball games. It doesn't mean they'll play perfect, but there's just more guys we know a lot about. And there's a lot of positive traits in our team. From talent, from skill, from experience, from aptitude. There's just a lot of positive things. Now, we still have to put it all together. We have to execute. We have to stay healthy. There's a whole nother group of intangibles that need to happen for us to be the team that can maximize our roster.
And you mentioned part of fall camp is so much focusing internally on your program, but that game against Vanderbilt is going to come up here pretty soon. At what point do you and the coaching staff start to implement some game plan for Vanderbilt, especially considering they'll have a new quarterback and some new offensive scheme this year?
Yeah, we've already done that. We've started to just segment out, a period or two in practices. We were doing that a little bit in the summer. Nothing too crazy, but to start to get the guys a feel for it, to work through it as coaches, what looks good, what doesn't look good. Obviously, anytime week 1, when you've got a new play caller, particularly for our defense, it can be tricky. Figuring out exactly who they're going to be, what you're going to see, and so some extra time is spent there.
Any final questions on Zoom? All right, Travis.
All right, we'll do the 2 quick ones here, and then we're Damian and David.
Brent, with Colin Schlee getting in late because of the semesters at UCLA, how much did you see Pop grow over the off season, and is he pushing for that number 2 role?
Yeah, I think Pop grew a bunch. He really did. He had a good spring, good summer. He's got a little nagging injury right now that he's frustrated with, but he's growing up like you expect them to do. He's learning the system. He's learning, working through some weaknesses and showing improvement. I'm excited about him. And, Colin's been here a short time, but has already made a really good impression on me, on the staff, and I believe on our players.
You mentioned the late season defensive improvement of 2023. Your Penn State defenses were almost always stout against the run. In your mind, what are the keys to absolutely being a better run-stopping defense?
Yeah, again, we're a single gap group, so there's more onus for everybody to be where they need to be in the right gap, ripping and running. That's linebackers, that's secondary kids, that's our front guys, not patching out of a gap too quickly. And it was a combination of a lot of things that we just weren't playing together. We weren't playing, all 11. And sometimes it takes going through that, recognizing it, seeing it on film, understanding how it hurts us for guys to really believe that you be where you need to be, the plays will come to you. 95% of the time, that's it. You don't have to force a play. Play within the framework of the defense, and the plays will come. Trust your teammates, plays will come. And I think that's where we grew the most at the midpoint.
Thanks, Coach Brown.
I appreciate everybody. So have a good year.